breath settle, let your shoulders drop, the noise of the world can wait. Today, I have something sacred to share with you, you see. Something beautiful happened in the unseen world, something you may not have noticed. But heaven did, heaven laughed in joy, because you, yes, you, finally did something that changed everything. And what was it? You let go. You finally stopped clinging to the version of yourself you thought you had to be. You released the old anger, the quiet resentment, the burden of constantly needing to prove your worth. And in that moment, brief as it was, your soul took a breath, a real one. And heaven smiled and then laughed, not in mockery, but in a deep, divine joy, because you finally remembered the truth that you are already enough, that you were never lost, only wandering, and that sometimes surrender is not the end, it's the beginning. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I met a man who carried his past like a stone backpack. Everywhere he went, his mistakes whispered in his ear, his regrets colored his future, and his heart was heavy. One morning, we sat together in silence. I offered him a small bowl of water and asked him to stir it. He did. I said, "Look at the bowl now. Can you see your reflection?" He looked. "No. The water is too stirred." "Now," I said, "let it be. Just let it be still." We waited slowly. The ripples calmed. The water settled, and he saw himself clearly. This is what you did. You let your waters still. And for the first time in a long time, you saw yourself without judgment, without the noise, without the guilt, and heaven saw you, too. That's why the laughter came. Not because you won something, but because you surrendered. Now, dear one, I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you truly listened to the silence within you? Not the anxious silence filled with noise behind the curtain, but the true silence. The kind that speaks only when you stop trying to hear it? This is where life begins. You are a chosen one, not because you were born special, but because you were born aware, aware enough to question, to seek, to feel deeply in a world numbed by surface living. I've seen it in your eyes. You've walked through the fire and didn't let it burn your compassion. You've cried in the night and still rise in the morning with kindness. You've been overlooked, underestimated, misunderstood, and yet, here you are, listening. This moment, this message is not an accident. It's an appointment your soul made long ago. Now you stand at the edge of a new path. Not one of noise and seeking, but one of stillness and knowing. The truth is, heaven was never far. It was always waiting for you to see yourself the way the divine sees you, whole, growing, becoming, not perfect, but present. And when you did, the angels laughed like children seeing sunlight after the storm. The universe exhaled because your soul made a sacred turn back home. Now, as we sit here together, let's reflect. What are you still clinging to that's asking to be released? Which version of you are you protecting that's already done its job? And what would happen if just for today, you allowed the sacred stillness to speak louder than the world? You see, I'm not here to give you answers. I'm just here to hold up the mirror, because sometimes the deepest teachings come not from words, but from remembering what your soul already knows. Before we end this first page of our journey, remember this: the world doesn't need more people chasing purpose. It needs more people remembering presence. And you, my dear one, have already started. That's why heaven rejoiced. So let the path unfold gently. No need to run. You are already walking the way. Let us continue our conversation in the next chapter, where we will explore the sacred signs, the whispers from the universe that tell you you are aligned, you are rising, and your soul is guiding you home. Welcome back, chosen one. In this continuation, the monk deepens the conversation and reveals the signs from the universe that confirm you are aligned with your higher path. If you've ever questioned your purpose or felt the shift inside you, this message is for you. Let this moment guide your next step. Tap into the divine messages being sent your way. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next part of the sacred journey. Comment below, I hear the universe speaking to me like, plus share to spread light to other chosen ones. Let us continue. Just as we left off, the stillness has opened a door inside you. Now we step through it. I want you to notice something very subtle in your life recently. You've felt a pull, haven't you? A quiet nudge in a certain direction, a sense that something invisible is guiding you, softly, gently, but persistently. You might have dismissed it, brushed it off as coincidence. But I tell you now, it was never coincidence. These are signs, sacred signs. Whispers from the universe, echoes of your own soul trying to guide you back to yourself. Let me share a story. There was a young woman who visited me once, full of doubt. She felt disconnected from her spirit, overwhelmed by the demands of the world. She said, "I pray, I meditate, I do all the right things, but I feel nothing." I told her gently, "When the water in the well is still, you do not hear it move, but it is still there, waiting to quench your thirst. Your stillness is not empty." I said, "It is sacred preparation." A week later, she walked into a bookstore. Drawn by a book she had never heard of, she opened it to A random page, and there was a single sentence that echoed her heart's deepest need. She burst into tears right there between shelves. That was a divine sign, not because it was loud, but because it was timed perfectly. This is how the universe speaks, not always with lightning, but often through patterns, small nudges, quiet synchronicities. Let me ask you, have you been seeing repeated numbers like 111, 333, 555? Have people from your past suddenly returned with old lessons tied in new words? Have you walked into a room and felt a sudden wave of clarity? As though time paused just for you to notice something. These are not accidents, they are part of a sacred conversation between you, and all that is because when you finally let go, as you did, you became clear enough to receive the messages. And when a chosen one receives, the world shifts. This path you're on, it won't always make sense. Others might not understand your quiet, they might not comprehend your sudden desire to be alone, to protect your energy, to reflect instead of react. But this is the sign of the awakening, the final awakening for many. Because when you start seeing the unseen, you begin to live in truth, not just in habit. And truth is a gentle force. It will dissolve your fear without a fight. It will burn away illusions without needing to explain. It will call you to places, people, and experiences that feel like remembering, not learning. So, my dear one, don't ignore these moments. If a thought keeps returning to you, listen. If you feel drawn to a place, even with no reason, go. If your heart aches in a way that feels oddly familiar, reflect. You are not losing yourself. You are shedding your shell. And with each layer you release, you become lighter, not just in spirit, but in presence, in thought, in energy. There's something else you need to understand. The people leaving your life, the paths closing before you, they are not punishment. They are preparation. Heaven laughs in joy, not just because of what you let go, but because of what you now have room to receive. Love, peace, stillness, a deeper connection with Source. It's almost as if your soul wrote this moment long before you were born, and now that you're finally catching up to it, the universe is throwing petals at your feet, saying, yes, this is the path, this is the one. Let me remind you, you don't need to chase signs. You simply need to become quiet enough to recognize what's already there. Even this video, this moment between you and me, was never random. It was arranged by your higher self long before your conscious mind was ready to receive. And now, here we are. So let us end today's reflection with this thought. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle, and now that you've opened, heaven rejoices because your light has returned to the world. Let it shine quietly, humbly, fully. And when you feel the next pull, follow it, even if no one else understands, especially then. For the path of the chosen one is rarely crowded, but it is always guided. Let us pause here, breathe. Place your hand gently on your heart, feel the rhythm of your existence, and know you are aligned. In our next conversation, we will speak of the silent transformations you are undergoing. The inner alchemy that turns past pain into present power, that turns your loneliness into sacred solitude, that prepares you slowly and surely for your divine assignment. The transformation inside you has already begun. Chosen one, in part 3, the monk guides you through the invisible awakening, the silent inner shifts that prepare you for your divine assignment. If you've felt different, distant, or deeply reflective lately, it's because your soul is rewriting your story. Let the sacred energy of these words nourish your spirit. Discover how pain becomes purpose and isolation becomes insight. Subscribe to continue the monk's path in next part. Comment below, I am ready for inner transformation. Like if this resonates with your soul, share this with a seeker who needs this message today. Welcome back, dear one. Your presence here again speaks louder than words. It tells me your soul is listening now, deeply, honestly, and with reverence. And so, we continue. In our last conversation, we spoke of the signs, the sacred language of the universe, the whispers only heard in stillness. But today, we go inward. We speak of the silent transformations, the ones that change everything without making a sound. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt a grief you couldn't explain? A heaviness that didn't belong to any single memory but seemed to live in your bones? This is soul transformation, not always glamorous, rarely easy, but deeply sacred. You see, transformation doesn't always begin with light. It often begins in the dark, in the quiet breaking, in the aching awareness that your old self is fading and your new self has not yet arrived. This is the sacred in-between, the space where you no longer fit into who you were, but you haven't fully stepped into who you are becoming. It is uncomfortable. It is raw, but it is divine. And this is where most people run. They reach for distraction, for noise, for comfort. But the chosen ones, they stay, they sit in the fire. They listen to the burn, because they know the fire does not destroy them, it purifies them. Let me tell you the story of the broken bowl. An elder monk once held up a cracked worn bowl during a teaching. The young students stared in confusion. One of them asked, "Master, why do you still use that old, broken bowl?" The monk smiled and said, "Because the light seeps through the cracks, and when I drink from it, I remember that it is not perfection that makes us sacred, it is our openness." So many of you watching this now have cracks, wounds that were not your fault, pain that was placed upon you before you had the words to resist it. But I tell you, your soul did not break, it opened, and that opening allowed wisdom to enter. That suffering carved space for empathy, for depth, for strength. That now you feel distant from the world you once fit into. You don't enjoy the same conversations, crowds exhaust you. You'd rather walk among trees than sit in shallow talk. You crave meaning over entertainment, stillness over chaos. This is not isolation, this is your cocoon. The universe has pulled you inward not to punish you, but to prepare you, because something sacred is coming. Something only your soul can carry, and the silence is shaping you into the vessel it needs. Let me be clear, transformation does not announce itself. It doesn't knock on the door with bright banners, it creeps in through quiet mornings, through sudden tears, through long walks alone, through deep sighs you can't explain, and one day you'll wake up and realize you are no longer carrying what once buried you. You'll speak with wisdom you didn't study, you'll respond with peace you didn't practice. You'll walk with a presence that makes people pause and remember themselves. That is the invisible awakening. It happens when no one is watching. And that is what makes it sacred. So if you feel unseen, unheard, misunderstood, know this, you are in your becoming. And the divine sees every step. Remember, the seed must disappear into darkness before it ever becomes a tree. The caterpillar must dissolve before it can fly. And the soul must be quiet before it remembers its own light. So I ask you now, not with urgency, but with tenderness, are you willing to honor the season of stillness, not to rush it, not to fix it, but to honor it? Because heaven is watching, not with impatience, but with admiration. Because you are not avoiding the fire, you are standing in it, and through it, you are becoming exactly what you were always meant to be. So breathe. Place your hand to your chest again, whisper to your heart, I trust the process. Because that is all the universe asks of you right now, to trust, to stay, to listen. You have already done the hardest part, you stopped running. Now, let the transformation complete itself, and as you prepare for our next conversation, we will speak of what happens after the cocoon when you finally emerge. With wings that remember the wind and a heart that knows where home truly is, welcome back. Chosen soul, the quiet transformation within you is now ready to rise. In the next step, the monk gently guides you through the sacred moment after the cocoon, when the soul, newly awakened, begins to fly. If you felt a stirring in your spirit, this is why. Discover what happens when your spirit fully emerges. Find peace in the unknown as your wings unfold. Subscribe so you don't miss next step of this soul-healing journey. Comment below, I am ready to rise like, plus share if this message found your heart today. Welcome back, my dear one. We've walked through stillness together. We've sat with the silence, felt the weight of transformation, and honored the holy fire of becoming. And now, something is stirring. Can you feel it? Like a soft flutter beneath your chest. Not quite fear, not quite excitement, but something familiar. It's your wings, yes, your spiritual wings, the very ones that were forming in the silence, the ones you forgot you had. You are emerging now, not as who the world expected you to be, but as who your soul always was. You see, the cocoon was not punishment, it was a sacred shelter, a divine forge, a place where the old was melted down so that the true could rise. But now, the cocoon has done its work, and the time has come for your unveiling. Let me tell you about a monk I once knew. He spent 5 years in seclusion, not to escape the world, but to hear himself again. When he returned to the monastery, he was not the same. He spoke softer, he listened more. He laughed like someone who knew life's secret, and when I asked him what changed in his silence, he said this, I realized I wasn't broken, I was blooming. That, chosen one, is where you are now. You are blooming. No longer reaching for approval, no longer shrinking to fit, no longer hiding your truth to make others comfortable. You've stepped into a new atmosphere. One where your spirit no longer tolerates what drains it, where your soul craves peace more than validation, where your heart beats in rhythm with something eternal. It's not just a phase, it's not just healing, it's awakening. And with awakening comes clarity. You begin to see who is aligned and who is just attached. You sense which paths carry light and which are merely loud. You feel it in your body, your breath, your bones. And the most beautiful part? You stop apologizing for it. You no longer need permission to walk in your truth. You no longer need external signs to validate your inner knowing, because now you trust yourself. And that's when true freedom begins. Let me remind you, the butterfly doesn't apologize for flying. It doesn't explain why it no longer crawls. It doesn't look back to comfort the caterpillar still doubting their wings. It simply soars. Quietly, gracefully, freely. And so must you, but remember, flying is not about escaping. It's about elevating, not above others, but deeper into your own essence. And yes, you will feel alone at times, because few understand what it means to rise without needing to be seen, to grow without announcing it, to glow without asking for applause. But this is the monk's way. This is your way. The world needs you now, not as a copy, not as a performer, but as a soul fully aligned. One who can walk into any space and bring calm. One who no longer reacts, but responds. One who listens deeper than words and loves from a place beyond ego. This is spiritual maturity. This is soul wisdom. And you are now stepping into it. So if you find that your conversations feel different, if your presence affects rooms without trying, if your dreams become more vivid, if your silence becomes more sacred, know this: you are no longer searching, you are becoming, and heaven is still smiling, still laughing, because your soul is now carrying light again. The kind of light only chosen ones can carry. So breathe in this truth, let it settle. You are no longer becoming who you were told to be. You are returning to who you were born to be, and in our next sacred moment together, we will walk deeper into this spiritual maturity, into how to carry your light in a world still wrapped in shadow, how to remain grounded while touching the eternal, how to lead not with noise, but with presence. You've risen, chosen one, and now you must learn to walk with your light, softly but firmly, in a world still finding its way. In part 5, the monk shares profound lessons on spiritual maturity, divine responsibility, and how to stay grounded while carrying the sacred within you. Learn how to protect your peace while sharing your light. Discover how to guide others simply by being fully yourself. Subscribe so you don't miss the final next step of this sacred journey. Comment below, I am ready to walk in my light like, plus share if this touched your soul today. So here we are. Again, you've emerged from the silence, you've remembered your wings, you've risen in stillness. And now you must learn to walk with the light, not the light others expect from you, but the light your soul chose before it came to this world. You see, many believe that once they awaken, the journey ends, that enlightenment is a peak, a place of rest, of knowing, of escape. But that is not so. The true awakening is not a destination. It is an invitation. To live with sacred awareness, to carry your presence as medicine, to embody the divine in your ordinary life. That, chosen one, is the real work, and it is quiet work. When I first stepped back into the world after my years in seclusion, I was shocked, not by how much the world had changed, but by how much noise I had once called normal. Everyone rushing, everyone proving, everyone chasing the illusion of enough. And I, newly emerged, could feel the weight of their spirits, their questions, their exhaustion. And I realized my stillness was no longer just for me, it was for them too. So I did not speak often, but when I did, I spoke from silence. And that made all the difference. This, dear one, is your next calling. To bring your inner peace into outer spaces, to become a sanctuary in human form, to show, not by preaching, but by being, to walk into rooms and shift the energy without needing attention or applause. This is spiritual maturity. It's when you no longer need to explain yourself, when you stop trying to save others and start honoring their paths, when you love from a distance if you must, not out of judgment, but out of clarity. You realize not everyone is ready to see what you see, and that's okay. The awakened soul does not force the flower to bloom, it simply becomes the sun. Let me share another story with you. There was once a wise monk who walked through villages with nothing but a candle. People laughed at him. It's daytime, they said. Why carry a candle when there's already light? He smiled gently. This candle, he said, is not to light my way, it is to remind me not to forget my own flame, even when the world claims to be lit. And so I ask you, are you remembering your light, even when the world tries to distract you with its own? Because now that you have awakened, the world will test your peace. It will poke at your stillness. It will try to pull you back into the storm, not out of malice, but out of habit. And your task now is to remain centered, remain clear, remain kind, remain aligned, even when misunderstood, even when unseen, even when alone. Because your power now lies not in knowing more, but in needing less. You no longer chase closure. You no longer seek validation. You no longer argue with shadows. You simply are. And this being, this grounded presence, is the healing this world doesn't yet know it needs. So protect it, guard it, not with fear, but with discernment. Your energy is sacred now, and you are no longer meant to give it to everything and everyone. You are a vessel of light, not a fire for others to burn in. Remember this. And when you walk gently, but with conviction. You don't need to speak loudly. The universe speaks through your silence now. You don't need to defend your path. The path itself has already proven it is yours. And if you ever feel lost again, not in direction, but in energy, return to the stillness. Let the breath be your compass. Let the present moment be your home. You see, heaven laughed in joy the day you let go, but now it watches in awe as you become who you were always destined to be, not a seeker, not a student, not even a teacher, but a presence, a living, breathing example of divine embodiment. So pause here with me, under the sky full of stars. Breathe in this truth. You've done the work, and now you must walk the way. In our next and final page of this sacred journey, we will speak of the legacy of the awakened soul. What it means to live fully, to love fearlessly, to die empty, and to leave a light that never fades. You've walked through fire, silence, and rebirth. Now, in next part, I reveals the deepest truth, what it means to live a life of divine legacy. If your soul is ready to leave a mark, not through force, but through light, this message is yours. Learn what it means to live fully, love deeply, and die empty. Embrace your final transformation, legacy through presence. Subscribe and stay tuned for the final next part of this sacred series. Comment below, my legacy is love and light like, plus share if you feel the shift inside. There you are, again, arriving quietly, just as the wise always do. We've walked through the shadows. We've sat inside the silence. We've risen with our wings. And now, we begin the final lesson of this sacred unfolding. Legacy. Not the kind the world applauds, not the statues, the fame, the stories printed in books, but the invisible legacy, the one left in hearts, in energy, in presence. The truth is this. Dear soul, everything you do that goes, every moment lived in presence becomes eternal. Every soul you touch without trying ripples beyond time, and that is the greatest gift of awakening. Not that you become powerful, but that you become impactful without effort. Let me tell you about an elder in my village. She was not a monk. She had never left the region. She spoke softly and often sat with her eyes closed under a neem tree, but when she passed, the entire village wept, even those who never spoke to her. Why? Because her energy, her calm, unwavering, grounded presence had become a pillar of peace. She taught no lessons, yet everyone learned from her. She gave no sermons, yet everyone felt more sacred in her presence. She didn't try to be remembered, and that's why she never will be forgotten. That is true legacy. And now, you are becoming that. You've reached the space where words matter less, and who you are speaks loudest. Your life now becomes the lesson. Your stillness becomes the teaching. Your kindness becomes the revolution. And what will you leave behind? Let me tell you. You will leave behind eyes that learn to see differently because of your compassion. You will leave behind hearts that opened because your energy gave them permission to feel safe. You will leave behind moments, tiny, sacred moments that people will carry for years, not knowing that their healing began the day you smiled at them without judgment. This is your divine assignment now. To live fully, to love deeply, to forgive swiftly, and to die empty. Empty, not from exhaustion, but from having poured everything you are into every breath, every gaze, every word laced with presence. This is not about doing more. It's about being more aligned, more aware, more here. Because the awakened soul doesn't need to be loud, the awakened soul simply is. And in that being, they transform the world without lifting a finger. Let me share this final story with you. There was once a seeker who asked an old monk, "Master, what is the secret to leaving a great legacy?" The monk replied, "Leave no damage behind." The seeker frowned. "That's all?" he asked. The monk smiled. "That is everything. No damage, no wounds in the hearts of others from your actions, no scars from your ego, no ripples of fear, jealousy, or manipulation, just presence, just peace. Just a soul so full of light that even when you leave this earth, your echo still brings warmth. This is the legacy of the chosen one, and now, dear one, it is yours. Let your footsteps leave peace in their path. Let your words become prayers. Let your gaze be a sanctuary, and let your final day come not with regret, but with a silent smile, knowing you gave your soul's full song to this lifetime. As I sit here, with the stars above and the earth beneath, I feel it. Your transformation is nearly complete. You are no longer just becoming, you are now embodying. But one final conversation remains. One last truth to carry you through the rest of your journey. In our final page together, we will speak not of how to walk, but of how to surrender completely, how to meet life without resistance, how to return to source with grace. The final page is not an ending, but a reunion, and so, let us meet one last time for the final light. This is the final chapter before the end. In next step, the monk brings you to the sacred threshold, the space between letting go and returning home. If you've been moved by this journey, then what comes next will not just complete you, it will set you free. Learn the sacred art of surrender. Release the illusion of control and remember who you really are. Comment "I am ready to return to source" if this message speaks to your soul. Subscribe and stay tuned for the final page, the closing message of this divine journey. Here you are, once again, closer than ever before to the moment your soul came here to remember. We have talked about pain, we have walked through healing, we have risen in awareness, we have grown, detached, loved, released. And now, we stand at the gateway of the final truth. Not everything must be held. Not everything must be fixed. Not everything must be understood. Some things must simply be surrendered, chosen one. Do you remember how much you tried to control it all? How tightly you gripped the outcomes? The people, the timing, the explanations, and yet, all along, heaven waited not for your effort, but for your surrender. You were never here to win the game. You were here to remember that you are not the player, you are the presence. Behind it all. There is a story I once heard from a mystic in the Himalayas. A young seeker came to him, frustrated by the noise of the world. He said, "Master, I've studied the teachings, practiced the silence, and done all the rituals. Why do I still feel so much suffering?" The old man simply replied, "Because you're still trying to walk with your feet when the journey requires only your heart." That seeker was you, and now you are awakening to the wisdom the mystic hinted at. What if I told you that the most powerful thing you can ever do is nothing, to be still? To observe without needing to change, to witness without judgment, to love without possession, to give without needing applause, to die to the moment and let it rebirth you as peace itself. This is surrender. And it is not weakness. It is trust. Trust in the divine intelligence that breathes the trees, moves the stars, and guides you even when you can't see the road. The tree does not force the leaf to fall. The sun does not demand the sky be clear. The river does not beg the ocean to receive it. And yet everything happens perfectly. So why do you still think you must try so hard? Let it go. Let it all go. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be. Let go of how you believed it would all unfold. Let go of the guilt, the shame, the timeline, the checklist, the identity. You are not the name they gave you. You are not the past you survived. You are not the dreams you've chased. You are awareness in motion. You are God, experiencing itself. You are love, shedding form after form until only light remains. In this moment, as I speak to you through the hush of the forest and the stillness of dawn, I want you to pause and breathe. Feel it. That is you. Returning to yourself. Not the self you built, but the self that has always been watching beneath the layers of story and striving. The chosen ones are not chosen because they are better. They are chosen because they remember, and now you are remembering. Remember this, dear soul, you were never lost. You only closed your eyes for a moment, and even in your forgetting, heaven never stopped whispering. The angels never stopped walking beside you. The divine never stopped believing in you, and now they laugh in joy because you finally did this. You surrendered. You chose presence over pressure, peace over performance, silence over noise, grace over grasping. And because of this, you are no longer becoming, you are simply being, and that is your return to power. There is one final step left, one final conversation to close this circle, to bless the journey, to offer gratitude, to return home completely, not to a place, but to a state of being. In our final page together, I will not teach. I will simply sit beside you as a brother, as a soul, as a reflection of your own light, and we will remember what heaven feels like when it lives inside a human heart. Let us walk together one final time into the sacred stillness. This is it, the sacred conclusion of our journey. In this final message, the monk shares his deepest truth. If you've come this far, your soul was meant to hear this. Take a moment to breathe. You made it. Comment below, I remember who I am. Subscribe for more timeless wisdom. Share this video if your heart was touched. Someone else is waiting for this message. May your path be filled with stillness, surrender, and joy. This is the final page, but not the end. In truth, there is no end, there is only return. Return to the stillness, return to the source, return to yourself. I have shared with you what I've seen. I have told the stories that shaped me. But now, I have no more stories, only silence, only presence. Only this, a sacred breath between us before we go our separate ways. Let me tell you something I've never told anyone. There was a time I nearly gave up, not on life, but on truth. Years ago, I sat alone for 40 days, no food, no words, no distractions, only wind, only night, only the sound of my own illusions unraveling. And one night, I cried out in the darkness, "Where are you? Why won't you speak?" And then I heard it, not outside, but within. It said, "I've been here all along, but you only listen when you stop needing an answer." I fell to the ground in tears, not because I found God, but because I finally stopped looking outside myself to find what had never left. That's when I realized heaven was not up there, it was in this breath, in this moment, in this stillness. And so I tell you now, the silence you hear at the end of your seeking, that is God, that is peace. That is you. You, dear one, are not broken, you are sacred, you are not too late. You are right on time, you are not lost, you are finally aware, and that awareness, that glimmer of pure being is your return. So let go of the story. Let go of the noise. Let go of the striving. You do not need to earn your way back to love. You are love. You do not need to impress the universe. You are the universe wearing a name. Look around you. This is the world you once chose. This is the lifetime your soul awaited, and now you are awake within it. So what do you do now? You live. But not the way you used to. You live slowly. You live mindfully. You speak with care. You walk with grace. You love without attachment. You hold your sadness like a prayer and your joy like a candle. You serve. You forgive. You breathe. And most of all, you remember. Remember who you are when the world forgets. Remember what you carry when others question your path. Remember that heaven once laughed in joy. Not because of a miracle in the sky, but because you finally remembered your soul. You did this. Not me, not the teachings, not the videos. You listened when it was hard. You healed in the silence. You surrendered in the fire. You became who you already were. And now, you are ready to walk without needing a map, ready to give without needing to be thanked, ready to love without needing to be loved back, ready to die each day, to ego, to fear, to illusion, and rise again as presence. That, dear soul, is the final teaching, not words, not rituals, not ideas. But presence, being here, being now, being loved. And so, this is where I leave you. Not because I am far, but because the teacher disappears when the student remembers their own light. From now on, let the birds be your teachers, let the wind be your guide, let your breath be your prayer, let the silence be your sanctuary. You are ready now. The journey is not ending, it is just beginning at a deeper level of truth. So rise. Not fast, not loud, but with quiet certainty. You are the miracle you always were. And somewhere beyond the veil, heaven smiles again because you finally did this. The end and the beginning. Thank you for walking this journey. If you have felt seen, heard, or healed during this series, you were meant to find it. There are no accidents in the divine design. Share this gift with someone who is still remembering. Comment, I remember who I am. Subscribe to stay in this sacred space of truth until our souls meet again.